Thank you so much for joining us on this week's How We Live podcast. My name is Colby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Pete McCoubry. This podcast is dedicated to all things LIV Golf, the news, the players, the upcoming events, the scandals, the outside of the LIV events that are going to influence, obviously, what's going on in LIV. Pete, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
Great.
How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm down in Florida right now for the old spring break, Easter break. Kids are off school. Weather's beautiful. We been spending a lot of time on the beach. I've been, just full on, very, very out of touch with a lot of things. Did watch the Valspar, but very excited for the upcoming LIV tournament in Miami. No, I'm not making it down there to the 4 or 5 hour drive from where I am in the greater Sarasota area. But if folks are still interested,
Because you look good. You look tan, but I can
feel
tell that
tan,
the tanner
feeling
you.
good. I got my Anthony Kim jersey on right now, which is just a plain white tee that hangs just below the waistline.
We
Yeah,
gotta
I
be.
went to the beach.
We do have to be careful. We'll talk about Anthony Kim in the plain white, but
Yeah.
also that I can tell the tanner you get, that means you paid less attention. So this is good. This might be one of the first episodes we've ever had when I seem to kind of know what's going on more than you, because you always do your job and I kind of have no idea what's going on. So,
Cool.
got new glasses because
Nice.
I've
What
seen
brand are the glasses?
just I think plain, just like regular you can see now glasses. Marshall.
Black.
They're actually not for being short sighted, so I actually can't see. But normally I start this off with a time capsule, but I'm too excited, so I'm going to skip that because people that are big fans of this podcast know that I hate Rory because I think he's a hypocritical little bitch. But today, I was prepping for this, doing my homework, as always. He was interviewed, and he's almost entirely changed his tune on LIV and PGA. He
Yeah.
said,
Well, real quick before you get into what he said. Yesterday. Today is the second. Yesterday was a bit tough as far as social networks go. I was thrown back by all the different things. Very tricky out there, right?
April
Being
Fool.
in late 30s, I am so susceptible to April
Can we,
Fool's stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. There was April Fool's based. I fell for it. I was like, wait, this can't pot. And then I was like, oh yeah. And then everybody's comments like, yeah, April Fools. And I was like, okay, whirlwind, roller coaster of a day
so
yesterday.
Colby sent me a post April 1st, early in the morning, that said Rory was joining LIV
Yeah,
and Greg Norman's team. In Colby's defense, he has a family and kids. He's on vacation. He can't be like super worried about April Fool's jokes.
right.
Meanwhile, my camera doesn't. It barely works. I'm not like in the same situation, so I'm on top of this stuff. So I knew that Rory was not joining the LIV. But then today, we're clear past April Fools. He gave an interview that says like the sooner we can get these two together, the better. This is unsustainable. And he said, we want to combine these two. And he said, as a competitor, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't know the Irish lingo, it
Yeah,
bums me out that I'm not playing against the best. Which, of course, because I hate that guy, he hasn't won anything in like quite a while. It's not Liv's fault. It's not like the lack. It would be that quote would mean more to me if he was playing in tournaments and just winning by 12 strokes, but he's consistently still not winning. But he now wants the two tournaments to be together. And this is just the slow roll, I think. Snowball, it's going to turn into an avalanche when he probably does eventually join the LIV. Because he is, and always has been, full of shit on this situation.
I was just looking at what Rory's wins were in 2023, and the first thing that popped up was Rory McIlroy finished first on the 2023 Players Impact Program and got $15 million for first place, with Tiger Woods finishing a second at $12 million. But mostly because I can only imagine that it's because Rory's involvement and then social media and just the fact that he was so impactful. But that was the very first thing versus like an actual tournament that he won. So you saw this week or recently or today that Rory's like, let's get these guys together. I want to compete against the best in the world. But it is a little confusing because like, well, you haven't been competing against the best in the world in the last 2 years. What is going to bring them in that's going to make you play at a higher level?
That's the thing about Rory, is that he never has any solutions. There's no solution-based thinking. It's like he just wants his problems to go away without ever offering. He just says like, "Oh, this is unsustainable."
Right.
What are you
Yeah.
looking at right now?
I'm still just trying to figure out his last win on tour. I mean, I know he won the Dubai Classic like end of the year last year, but it's like
I think
again,
just real quick, not to just the word classic probably gets thrown around too much. Is that a classic? The Dubai Classic?
I mean, it's classical.
It is, yeah. It's classical.
Um,
Rory McIlroy says PGA LIV split is not sustainable for golf. He says, and I quote, "There needs to be a correction. I think that what's happening is not sustainable right now. So something needs to happen to try to bring it all back together so we can all move forward. We don't have this division that's sort of ongoing," which is very interesting because that sounds like a dad at dinner who like flips out, loses his mind, and then wonders why everyone is kind of like in their own separate parties. And it's like, yeah, dude, you're one of those guys. It's like
it's
just
also
you don't get
interesting.
so he doesn't get to be the guy. I think what he's trying to do now is paint himself as the hero who's like someone had to stand up and say, let's bring these two together. But like, dude, those wheels have already been in motion. And any little dweebo Rory fan who thinks that because he said that they're coming together is like a dweeb.
A lot of dweeboids out there. I don't know. Whether he's trying to stay relevant or trying to motivate, but not having like a leadership position because he's not part of the PGA Tour Enterprises, the players, the player board members or whatever is going on over there. But he's not in a leadership position. He's chose to like focus on his game of golf. Granted, because of his stance on live in the past, he's always going to get asked about it. So now he's just like, look, like let's just bring everybody together and kind of figure it out. And then everyone's like, thanks, Rory. You're bringing
Yeah,
everybody together again.
bringing everyone together. He actually removed himself. I think from didn't he remove himself from the board?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was. I mean, he was like Jay Monahan's like left hand man, but right hand man, left hand man. I don't know what hand Jay Monahan prefers, but the point is that he was pushed forward by Jay Monahan, and then they made that deal like last summer where they went on MSNBC or CNBC or whatever, and then that kind of pissed him off, and then he's gone. And then they put together this PGA Tour Enterprises, which is like a shoot off the SSC. And Rory McIlroy is like nowhere to be seen on any of that. You have Cantlay, you have Spieth, you have other players out there, but at the same time, he's like, I just want to focus on my game of golf. Um, now they're debating things like the signature events on tour, and you have Malnati out there, but the whole thing is pretty silly to be honest.
I
But
I think what golfers don't understand, and you and I might even disagree on this. I think I brought this up before. No one's really watching the Dubai Classic or the San Antonio Classic or like the Phoenix First Annual Invitational Open. As long as these guys come together for majors, that's all anyone cares about. It's like
yeah,
a college basketball tournament. No one. I haven't watched Old Navy versus Valparaiso any games, but I'm gonna tune in if it's a big one. So like, who cares? It's not a
Exactly.
problem, but he keeps making it a big, this like huge
Problem.
deal.
Yeah, they're trying to like, yeah, perfect example. And I'm huge fan of the game last night. Iowa women's versus LSU women's. And I was tuned in, watched the whole thing here, and that was a great game. That game, um, Iowa LSU, because the women they play 4 quarters, guys play 2 halves, etc. Right? Guys play 2 halves,
Yep.
and at the end of the half, the NC State versus Duke game was like middle school B squad where they scored like 28 points apiece. And then the Iowa and LSU women's game, they both were like contending for like 40 points by the end of the half. It was way more entertaining than the men's game, and they were like draining it. Granted, but getting back to the point of being like, I didn't watch like one Iowa or one LSU game, and you drive it to March Madness, and yeah, everybody's going in because Caitlin Clark and I can't remember her name on LSU, super tall like center girl.
Angela Reese.
Yeah, and like the whole drama around that, but like everyone wanted to see it. Granted, it is in Albany, New York, and got a few people that were there. Got a couple selfies with Jason Sudeikis, also there. Not sure what he was doing in Albany. They were actually.
I actually looked that up because
What
I
was he
like
doing?
Jason Sudeikis. I watched the
Yeah,
show Ted Lasso. I watched him on SNL. Well,
yeah.
I would say I'm a fan of his. So I
Yeah.
looked him up. I'm like, he's kind of really going nuts for Iowa. So I looked him up. I'm like, he's born in Iowa and or went to college there. He's
Oh,
just
did he?
yeah, just from Kansas.
No.
He's just a dude. Couldn't understand it, but that's
Loves
good for the sport.
cornbread. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Our good friend Emma was literally sitting in the same row. Got a selfie with him at the end of the game. But at the same time, so also kind of off track, but just love for Albany, New York. Apparently, Caitlin Clark's family was reaching out to those people. They were reaching out to her, being like, "Hey, the game's not until later. Do you want to get together?" And she's like, "No, like I'm in the zone. Like, go find something fun to do in Albany." And the announcer goes, "Good luck trying to find something fun to do in Albany." And was watching with my dad, and my dad's like, "Oh, whoa, watch out!" I'm like, "Dad, there's not. It's true. There's not. What are you gonna do? You gonna go to Cohoes Falls or
Albany
whatever?"
is probably the if you had somebody come to America and name every state capital, Albany probably trips them up more than anyone else.
Anything. Yeah, just terrible. But it was a good tangent. Okay, so Rory McIlroy is trying to drive every PGA Tour golf event essentially towards March Madness viewership and entertainment level, and we understand that there's going to be games where LSU is playing against South Dakota State, and no one's going to watch that because nobody cares. Got it. Cool. And I agree. I think that's the big thing is that you're not going to have these things. You're going to have the majors. You're going to have huge tournaments that are out there. I think, same thing kind of plays out with LIV too. Like you're going to have the individual championship, team championship. You're going to have new players coming in. Obviously, Anthony Kim is driven in. We'll get into some news out of Anthony Kim here in just a little bit. But at the same time, the whole sport of golf is in an evolution point right now, and it's kind of exciting to watch.
I think
But
it's really
moving forward, go ahead.
no. I was just gonna say I think it's really exciting. I think like it's been known as like the gentleman's game, and now there's like some. It's just a lot of tension, and I love it.
Yeah, it is. It is good. I mean, it's like you said, like any news announcement that comes out from any sort of player, it's like, oh, what do you say? What's going on? I think a lot of people are kind of tuned into it. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that have been tuned out, but at the same time,
Uh,
here we are.
the last thing I'll say is 9 times out of 10, I would say 100% of the time actually, if you get prior to the LIV PGA split, you went on ESPN or any major news outlet, and there was a headline about golf. It was either Tiger Woods crashed his car or there's just some like quote that says Jordan Spieth says the greens are playing a little fast today. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't. Who cares? But now there's some real tension in the air. And again, just to go back to the LSU Iowa thing, women's basketball probably criminally underwatched, but there was tension last night, and one of the biggest games of the year. So I think this is all good.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's bringing eyes to the situation, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves. And we will bring all the news and updates to our viewers. But moving on, kind of continuing into, obviously, we have LIV Golf Miami coming up end of this week, April 5th to the 7th at Trump Doral in Miami. Per usual, 54 players, 13 teams, and 2 wild cards. 4 players apiece, obviously, on those 13 teams, but it'll consist of 3 rounds of stroke play. Total purse is $25 million, with the winner share being $4 million, and for the individual, and of course $3 million for the teams to split evenly amongst themselves. I think some of the big kind of key stories here, looking ahead, if you are a sports bettor, pay attention to Joaquin Niemann, John Rahm, and of course Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed. All of these guys who are kind of preparing for the Masters in 2 weeks' time, week and a half's time. All these guys are really looking to hone their skills. Doral apparently never played it, but is a very difficult course. It's going to be potentially rain on Friday for the first round, and then just kind of overcast. There's a little bit of a cold swing happening in Florida this week at the tail end of the week. I think it's going to get down like mid to low 70s. Like I said, a little bit of rain on Friday. Playing at the Blue Monster course at Doral, but narrow fairways, tight greens. If it's going to be rain, obviously everything's going to be pretty wet and sticky. So
You know who I'm really looking to in that tournament is
yeah.
you probably think I'm about to make a joke right now. I'm not. Is Cam Smith, because
Oh,
that Cam Smith, when he has his putter going, is pretty much unstoppable. And when you have those weird weather conditions, when it rained, it's going to dry out. Is the green going to be fast? It's going to be dry. If you have a guy who has a real good feel for the green, I think Cam Smith is, and especially because he's made so much money and won some big ones. I think he's probably playing pretty loose in most tournaments, but now he's probably dialed in, getting ready for the Masters. And I think Cam's a guy to. If I was a betting man, that's who I'd be looking at.
yeah. So place your bets. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting. A lot of these guys are gonna be prepping for the Masters in a week and a half. Like you said, everyone's gonna be trying to dial in their game. I bet there's gonna be a lot of low scores throughout the 3 days of play. Looking at Cam Smith, Tyler Hatton will be kind of interesting, and then what John Rahm does too. Obviously, defending championship at the Masters, and Joaquin Niemann, is he going to push forward and say, "Hey, I'm going to win this tournament and scare the living shit out of everybody playing at the Masters"? And like, oh god, Joaquin Niemann beat out everybody on LIV by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 strokes. Where everybody's like, I need to be on my game as well. Phil Mickelson ought to be interesting. Playing with his new caddy, John Yarbaugh. So that'll be
Not John
interesting as
Harbaugh.
well. Yarbaugh.
No,
Yeah.
not John Yarbaugh.
No,
He's the John Harbaugh
not
football.
John Harbaugh. John Yarbaugh.
So
Yarbrough.
that'd be amazing though. If Phil Mickelson and John Harbaugh played together. If
Yeah.
so, I have a question. If you're John Rahm, I know that the warm up is important, but are you? I'm not sure if I'm playing in that tournament.
I think they have to. You can't
Yeah.
see unless you're injured. You gotta roll with.
Well,
Like
that's what I'm saying.
that's what they paid John Rahm $150 million to do, $300 million or whatever it was.
I know that's what I'm saying. I think that I'm so worried about the Masters and don't want to take, especially because it's going to be rainy and like you're going to be digging out of some stuff sometimes. There's a chance you miss hit a ball, you tweak your back. I'm probably faking a back tweak.
just calling sick. Say you got the
That's the old Tiger trick. If you're not playing well, you
yeah,
just back tricks. Like you know, you can get away with it. So I would just do that and get ready for the Masters.
chill. But I mean, would you say the best way to prep is to play? I don't know.
I would, but only if it's you and I. Like
Yeah.
if and we'll get to this in the 19th hole. I played my first round of 2024 outside, getting ready for our San Antonio trip. I needed that. If I'm John Rahm, I'm probably fine if I skip this one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. There's also those times too where you're like, all right, I'm gonna skip this and just go hit the range, or I'm gonna go to the range ahead of a round, and it's like, all right, you feel good on the range, and then as soon as you step up to that first tee, everything's out the window. Poof, gone.
Yeah,
And you're playing like absolute shit. I'm outside right now. I don't know if you can hear the sirens. We
that's
sounds like a
probably
bit of a fire.
Rory.
Probably Rory making an announcement.
And now, a moment for our sponsor. A Wink or a Nod Marketing is a new boutique marketing agency specifically designed for small businesses. If you are too busy or simply just don't know how to run social media, build a brand plan, or write copy, go to winkoranod.com.
Yeah, I think, a lot of the individual outlooks, obviously Joaquin Neiman, John Rahm, Henrik Stenson, all these guys with the Masters looming. Paul Casey has also been pushing forward from time on the DP World Tour. I mean, they've been off for essentially a month, since Hong Kong. So they are pushing towards this. First time that LIV is coming back to the U.S. after its little international swing from Jeddah and then Hong Kong. So it'll be interesting to see really what's driving this. Anthony Kim playing for the first time on U.S. soil in over 12 years. I think that there's going to be a big crowd drive out for this event, especially for how inexpensive tickets are. $160. You get 3 days. You pay $60 a day, whatever you want to do. If you're in the greater Miami area, it seems like a great event for you to attend. While you're looking at, you have the Valero Texas Open going on right now in the PGA. If you're not in Texas, you're probably living in Florida, and you're looking to do something kind of fun. Fort Lauderdale,
that's
obviously a close drive.
our mutual friend Smitty lived in Miami for a year or two, and he I wouldn't say get defensive, but Miami fans are notoriously like they're showing up late to basketball games, and the football stadium's never full. And he once said to me, "We live in Boston, and so that's all we have to do. Like that's the only thing to do is just go to a basketball game or a football game." He's like, "When you live in Miami,
A lot of things going on.
there's a lot of things going on." So, but you know what? Those things are going to be going on every week. Just go to the golf tournament.
Go to the golf tournament. Check it out.
It's a
One day.
What'd you say? $160?
$160 for a 3-day pass, like round
That's
floating with
$160 is probably half of what you pay at a bar tab that you go to a Miami bar or club or something like that. Just go.
yeah. Or just like you don't have to go all 3 days, just go one day. Go on the Sunday. Save your money, go on the Sunday. Most people aren't doing anything is on Sundays anyways.
Not
But
Miami.
yeah. Also out, this week, outside of Miami, Pete, did you see that? So Liv put out with Dave Flaherty, flew out to Oklahoma City to sit down with Anthony Kim for the journey back, Anthony Kim with Flaherty. And it was an emotional roller coaster, just kind of walking through Anthony Kim's like journey from dropping out after the first round of the Wells Fargo Classic in 2012 into what he's done today. It sounds kind of dark, and kind of feel bad for Anthony Kim, but also feel really good for where he's at right now.
Yeah, I feel like Anthony Kim became like he wasn't a joke between you and I on the podcast, but we made him the Mulligan of the Week, then we made him the Mulligan of the Week, then the Anthony Kim Mulligan of the Week, and you just don't know. Sounds like he was going through some shit. And
dark.
I'm really rooting for Anthony Kim, honestly. Like,
It just makes me want to see him do that much better. I think, like, I mean, he was talking about, like, yeah, like, I can't talk about the insurance settlement, but I was in a really tough place. There's a lot of mental health things going on. He's like got an addictive personality. He's an addict. And, he's like, I was aggressive on the course and aggressive off the course. And I guess there's a documentary coming out about his life and like what's going on. And is it going to be like behind the music without the music type situation where these rock stars go through this deal and it's going to be Anthony Kim? But he also references his wife, his mother-in-law, his daughter, being really the motivation behind, his choice to get back in and everything like that. It was really good. I mean, it's only like 20 minutes, so like check it out. You can see it via links on livegolf.com and LIV Golf Plus. It's all free. Like you can check it out. Probably see it on YouTube, etc. But at the same time, it's like, oof, God, I didn't know he was in such a tough place mentally, and like took the pressures of playing so well, but then also just not appreciating his success. And he never he said he never really enjoyed golf, and now he's like falling in love with it. But also how LIV has really given him a platform and supported him, and kind of showing what he can do both professionally as a golfer and also his own position within golf to basically LIV is like, hey man, if you want another shot at this, like, here you go. We're going to set you up. We're going to highlight you. We're going to give you an opportunity to really get back out on your feet. And he's like, okay, cool. Because that's what I'm looking for now. So it was pretty inspiring, but also like, gosh,
it's tough. It's tough, but it is really inspiring. And I don't know. I think it's an important thing to watch. Definitely. Anthony Kim. I think there's another golfer that I can think of right now that I won't name would have been really more impactful if he talked about how tough it was to struggle with addiction and to just like really struggle with how to deal with fame. And that guy was, not brave enough. Tiger Woods, of course, to talk about how much that impacts him, and now we get it from Anthony Kim. So I feel bad. I'm gonna give myself a triple mulligan of the week of like, I'm rooting for Anthony Kim now. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna separate this from the mulligan of the week and just make this the AK news of the week.
AK news of the week. And you know what? That's amazing. Anthony Kim comes back after such a long hiatus and then gets a segment on probably the best golf podcast there is.
Yeah, great segment on the pod. And understandably so, we have not heard back from our invites for Anthony Kim because he's dealing with a lot of shit. So
I did hear back from him.
Oh, you did? Was it straight up no?
He said I'm dealing with a lot of shit, but pretty soon.
Yeah, and after seeing that, makes complete sense. But we'll get him, and we will patiently wait his appearance. But moving on to the approach,
maybe you know how I know we talk about this a lot on the podcast, and I'm sorry, but I'm really excited about it. We have a trip to San Antonio. There's 8 of us going currently. And I would say there's like a few crossover people that don't know each other, but for the most part, we're all like really good friends. There's 8 people going on the trip. It's a 7-person group text. There is a chance that the 8th is Anthony Kim, and then maybe he'll join us. Maybe we can do it live.
There's a chance that it could be a lot of people. It could be Anthony Kim. It could be Rory McIlroy.
It's Rory, I'm in trouble, but I hope that it's Anthony Kim.
You'll be able to handle him, Pete. You're a big guy.
I'm not in trouble.
You'll be just fine.
I don't mean physically. I just mean like it's going to make the evenings weird.
It's going to make the evenings weird. Mornings will be fine. The evenings will be definitely weird. Yeah. Getting into the approach news, which of course is focusing on team news and LIV. Really, looking in, you have Joaquin Neiman with Torque. You have the Crushers GC that is really leading the rankings right now for the second consecutive tournament. Really boasting a big lineup of Bryson DeChambeau, Paul Casey coming hot off the fourth place finish at the DP World Tour a couple weeks ago as well in Singapore. But Carlos Ortiz is also showing promise, bringing the Torque GC really forward in the rankings. But there you go, Rippers GC Cam Smith with serious potential, and Matt Jones providing the boost. Matt Jones was playing very well in Hong Kong. Just kind of tailed it off towards the end there. Had a couple tough lies in the third round, so that pushed him off. But smash, Taylor Gooch, Brooks Koepka, really aiming to rebound off the last outing. I think a lot of these players, if the guys who aren't playing in the Masters are riding the coattails of the guys that are, and they're on their teams, it's going to propel a lot of these guys forward. But, you have, of course, Legion 13, John Rahm, reigning champion of the Masters. He's really – the team's faced a lot of challenges due to underperformance from other players, Kieran Vincent, who we really want to see do well. And also at the same time, and this is another thing against, people with big hair, but if KV is not going to be playing excellent, it might be time for him to trim the mop.
Yeah.
Because
it's only charming when you're playing well. That's like
right.
The loose lettuce, if you're just like not that good, it just seems, if you're not playing well, and I've been in this situation almost every round of my life, if you're not playing well, you seem like a clown. If you're dressed like a clown, then it doesn't help.
Doesn't help. You gotta if you look good, people give you the benefit of the doubt. And right, again, I don't want to make this out to the Kieran Vincent, anti-Kieran Vincent podcast, but
seems like you do because you mentioned him twice. So go on. Tell us how you feel about him.
I just want him to do better. I want to be a huge fan of the Legion 13. But at the same time, he's bringing the team down. He needs to play. I mean, if I was John Rahm, right, going into Miami, I would probably be having dinner with Kieran tonight, tomorrow, the next night, and be like, "Why are you here? Who do you play? Who do you play for? Did the Herb Brooks? Who do you play for?" And just wait for him to say, like, I play for the Legion 13. I don't play for Kieran Vincent. It's not about the name on the back. It's about the name on the front.
If you were going to Miami for one night, you're John Rahm, would you be going to dinner with Kieran Vincent? I would Jennifer Lopez.
Well, they're playing in Miami, so I mean, maybe Jennifer Lopez. Mark Anthony would be pretty cool too. If I was going, actually, if anyone could swing it, it'd be John Rahm, Mark Anthony, and Kieran Vincent all at one table. And what they do is they just make Kieran Vincent just sit there while the two of them just speak Spanish the entire time.
Yeah.
And Kieran Vincent is just watching and waiting to be addressed, and they're just continuing Spanish.
Yeah.
And it's just yeah, you got to figure it out. Actually, it would be better even if too, at the end of the dinner, Mark Anthony's like, you got to play better.
How you feel right now is how we feel watching you play golf. It's not bad.
I mean, at the bottom of the pack, high flyers, Phil Mickelson.
But I think everyone. I think we knew the high flyers would be. That's a team that's an ambassador for the game. They're not expected to win.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the high flyers have the lowest points out of any team in the league right now, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Phil's new caddy and how that works out. But I got my eyes obviously on Torques, the Crushers that have just been reigning supreme over the last few tournaments, and if we can also find a way for Kieran Vincent and Legion 13 really pull forward. They did win the very first one, but I think they're riding on a little adrenaline and everything like that. So, we'll see. Just want Kieran Vincent to kind of just do something, contribute.
Yeah, and maybe this will be the podcast that turns them up a little bit. I've heard multiple people that a lot of the LIV guys, they don't feel like if they have one regret because they made a bunch of money, it's like they're just like kind of out of the spotlight. But I've heard a lot of them do kind of listen to this, and maybe this will be kind of like listen to a song in the locker room before the game. Maybe he'll hear this and get after it.
Yeah, maybe John's gonna send Kieran the link directly to this podcast and be like, "Look, listen to this. Like, people are talking about you. Like, fire it up a little bit." I got Mark Anthony in the back of my car. He's just chirping at me.
Jennifer
He's got
Lopez
J-Lo on the line.
If you can't play well with Jennifer Lopez there, then you probably can't play well at all. So
I don't know. It's incredible. Moving on to the 19th hole where we get personal about a golf game. Pete, I have big news.
Yeah.
Down here in Florida again. I made it to the PGA Superstore.
Saw that.
It's an unbelievable experience.
I
You know
saw
what'd be
that.
kind of interesting is if LIV Golf made a Superstore. What?
Did you get that hat?
No.
Okay.
No. This is old hat, but at the same time, imagine if LIV had a Superstore. Just LIV shit. But there's a ton of great stuff in there. It's a little overwhelming at first from the amount of shoes, golf shoes, which you're due for a new pair of golf shoes soon.
Yep.
There's so much cool stuff. We're a week and a half out from the Masters. There's Master theme products everywhere. But my goal was to go in there and say, I'm going to go to they call it the fitting studio. Where you go in and, you try shaft lengths and stiffnesses and club face degree angles and all this other stuff. Some people go in there and get fitted for everything. I wanted to go in to say, hey, I want to get fitted for a driver. Because, again, I don't know what's going on with my old driver because I don't know why I would be slicing because my swing is so impeccable. But at the same time, there's got to be some new technology out there.
You had fixed the last time we played together, last several times, you had to fix that driver stroke. So it could be a mental hit.
I mean, it's constant. Mental fix. So I figured, just go in there, go straight to the studio, get fitted, 15, 25 minutes and get out of there. No, that's not the case. You have to set up a specific time, weeks in advance, but they also have a virtual bays in there. And there's this guy, he's probably 80, 82 years old, 81, early 80s. This is his retirement job, loves golf and whatever. And so I go to talk to him. I was like, hey, do you mind if I hit some clubs? He's like, yeah, sure. What do you want to hit? And I'm like, well, I'm not in the market for a QI10 because I don't have $700 to spend on a driver. Unless TaylorMade wants to send one to me. Not in the market for a Stealth because I know a lot of people went from Stealth 2 to Sim Max 2. So I was like, I want to hit some Sim Max 2s. I want to hit a couple different face angles. I want to hit basically stiff shaft and figure it out. And this guy was so nice because he's like, all right, we'll do kind of like a makeshift fitting and what's going on. He's like, let's see you hit. Just sit up there, crank as hard as you can. And I, for 15 minutes, just cranking. Sure enough, everything is slicing super hard. And he's like, yeah, it seems like you're not really turning your hands over. Let's try this other club face angle. He's like, yep, same thing. Doesn't really help your slice. I was like, yeah. So he's like, but you're definitely made for this kind of shaft, stiff shaft, because you swing hard. And so after 50 swings, I'm dripping wet. Kate, my wife, is running around looking at different outfits. She had a blast. So this is a great thing for couples to do. A little day date, maybe get lunch, go to the PGA Superstore, vice versa. There's great stuff in there. So please check it out. But at the same time, I think I am in the market for a Sim Max 2 driver, stiff shaft with a 9-degree, and probably a hour-long lesson with just drivers. If you ever had a golf lesson where they're like, oh, you want to work on putting, you want to work on iron? No, I just want only drivers and just turn my hands over. That's it.
Yeah, I feel like that's 100% what I would do because at my age, at our age, I'm playing a lot of scramble tournaments, and I don't like putting. I'm not great at it, but I played mini
Not terrible.
golf. I would say I'm like a decent putter. Driving is like if I could figure that out and just be a consistent guy with the rest of the team, the whole round isn't like we got to get this kid off the tee. I'd feel a lot better about. So I think that's like
And
the
everybody's
best
like,
thing.
"Oh no, you got to focus on 100 yards in, 100 yards in." It's like, yeah, that's great, but I still got to get to that 100 yards in point without.
Taking 6 strokes doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's
my 19th hole. I played my first outdoor round of the year. Have you done one yet?
Yeah, when there's temporary pins out at a local course back in New York, we went out, but it was temporary pins. So I'm actually playing on Thursday down here in Florida with my dad's like retirement communities like Thursday group, which is also nerve wracking because these guys are also mid 70. I think there was one guy's like 91, and I'm just like, oh, this is great, young guy coming in, and I just don't want to embarrass.
He's going to probably pick his ball out of his pocket or his bag. He's going to shake all the way down to the tee for about 15 minutes, and then he's going to hit one 150 yards dead center. Every
they all do. I've played with these guys before, nicest guys in the world, but at the same time, I would also just like to beat every single one of them out of spite. Like, oh, you can't have him back here next year, and it,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would like to make my dad proud, and just not embarrassed. Like, oh God, like, just drop it.
Don't embarrass your dad. I mean, that's kind of just like a life lesson. Generally, you just never want to do that.
So how'd you hit it?
I texted you this, and I appreciate you asking that for the pod. I shot 14 over, and you know what? I was pretty psyched about it. Like,
not bad at all on a par 70.
Yeah, I was the first hole. I got
That's a great score. 80 mid 80s. You shoot mid 80s.
Yeah, I got a bogey on the first hole. I missed a par putt. I got a bogey, and I was strutting off that green, and I was like, I think I can be on LIV. My only the only negative part of the round was one of the best rounds I've ever played, which honestly, we've talked about it before, wasn't that good in Saratoga with you. I was hitting your TaylorMade burner 3-wood a lot, but that was like at least to me, a long course. So I bought that club, finally came, first time to use it, but I was playing at a local North Shore, Massachusetts Muni, and there's almost no reason to ever play that club. Like, if you're hitting the driver even remotely well, there's no reason to play like a 3-wood. But I got to use it a few times, felt good. It was bogey golf, and I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, that's a great score. Breaking 90 first one out. That's awesome. It's way better than I anticipate playing. I mean, we'll see. I'll have to report back. I'll send you a message after I play in a couple days.
And we're going to do a live episode, and I'm wondering if, I don't know the technology behind this, but we should play together one round, just keep some updates going.
Yeah.
Give the fans what they want, the golf content, and then just keep them let them know how we're doing. Yeah,
we will. We'll probably have an episode, and then we'll also have just like a rehash of everything. We'll have to mash up a bunch of video from San Antonio. But yeah, that's great. That's good. That's a formidable opponent out there shooting mid 80s. Love that. Well, yeah, we're really excited for the upcoming season. We're supposed to get snow here in upstate New York this week. They're saying anywhere from an inch to 10.
Us too, but you know what? Fuck it. We're going to Texas in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, who cares?
Don't worry about
I'm in Florida this week. It's going to be melted by the time I get back. Totally fine with that. Good luck. Yeah. Godspeed. You guys enjoy that. Well, I think unless you have anything else, Pete, I think that kind of concludes our episode 10 here. 10 episodes in.
10 episodes in. I think what we're going to do, I haven't confirmed with Colby on this, We'll do 18. An episode for each hole. We'll make the turn, take a quick break, have a hot dog, maybe wait a week or two, and then we'll be right back into it. But it would. So stick with us.
Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, comment to everything we've just talked about or haven't talked about. And enjoy yourself. Pay attention to Miami this week, starting on the 5th, on Friday through the 7th. And of course, get your Masters gear ready because it's coming up in just a week and a half. Pete, you enjoy yourself and have a great night.
It's good. We're getting better.